everybody, and welcome to the On the Road with PokerListings podcast by Jason Glatzer. We are live at the Battle of Malta with the man, the myth, the legend, and of course the Viking, Steven van Zadelhoff. Welcome to the show, Steven.
Woohoo! Thank you for having me.
And I know you live here in Malta, and obviously commentating the final table and all the days of the 2019 Battle of Malta. I feel like I've gotten to know you. Maybe you don't know me, but I've gotten to know at least a little bit how you play. How does it feel to be back at the Battle of Malta after this 3-year gap of live poker?
Very good. Yeah, thank you. It was a fun adventure in 2019. We always used to joke, I don't know where the money went, but yeah, we know that went into a poker career and crypto and other good things. It was quite an adventure and feels amazing to be back here. And I have a stack for day 2. Not a big stack, but we'll see. Indeed, I'm going to try to put the skills down to the table where necessary.
But with the deep structure and you're used to being online with these stack sizes, I think anything can happen. And if anybody can play one of these small to medium stacks, it's likely you more than the rest of the field. Do you feel comfortable normally when you're coming in with one of these stack sizes?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a Sunday also, so I have to admit I won't be super patient. Don't tell my opponents. It's not like I'm going to sit on 6 big blinds for a couple hours, which I normally could. Then I would probably try to flip it in to get a good online session going. But if I get a double up from where I am, I think I have like close to 20 blinds or whatever. If I double up, then obviously you go into cruise mode and you try to keep pots small and use a lot of your skills to, all the friendly gentlemen I saw walking around here.
Good. And I imagine that's also going to be table dependent as well. Like if you see like a very tight table, it'll be much different than if you see like a raise and then, a few callers, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure there will be any tight tables in this tournament yet. I saw a lot of our Italian friends were visiting again this year, so they like to play still very enthusiastically, which is good.
So let's go back to 2019. Was that your first Battle of Malta, or did you play at the Battle of Malta previously to that?
It may have been my first one, because normally I'm very focused online, and the structure is somewhat slow, which is obviously amazing if you run deep. But for the first days, it's kind of disturbing if you have to sit on like a stack that is actually too deep for what I feel the tournament is worth there compared to an online session. So, I mean, I may have played like once before, I don't remember. There were a couple of 1500s, like in the first years where we were here on Malta, and that was a bit, I think, more motivating to sit down for what is still one table. Like now, obviously, I love it because it's the Battle of Malta and I have to defend my honor. So.
Yes, especially with the eventual champion, Sergey, not even here. So it's almost like you're the defending champion because you guys made a heads-up deal.
Yeah, it was a very good battle. It was nice. I didn't know he wasn't coming, but...
And yeah, you were on the TV table obviously quite a lot. And then on the final day, being it was the final table, you were on the whole time. It was a pleasure to watch. And, you were cruising quite nicely. I think, you took control at that final table, but then... heads up, that was maybe the most interesting part to me because you had like a nice lead and then Sergey Lisi came back and then it was back and forth for quite a while. And then, thankfully for you, you made, a fairly nice deal, I have to say. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that experience, at the final table. I know it's 3 years ago, but I imagine it's still fresh in your head being that it was probably, online ones come and go, but the live ones typically stay in your memory a little bit longer. For sure.
No, like I said earlier, I'm not trying to talk down on live poker at all. It's just one tabling it can be a bit like slow compared to the action you're used to online, but that completely falls away. Like when you're on day 3 or whatever, you get a bit of adrenaline, your stack gets worth a bit more money. So there you can really focus on. You can really zoom in on your table and you can really try to get momentum going. On the final table, I think I got quite lucky with, not like in suck-out wise, I don't think, but with a big setup with ace-queen hand, I think it was.
I think against Colin, actually.
Yeah, he had ace-queen where I had a set, I think, or that was just a big double up, and from there I could just, cruise into a strong heads up. I think heads up, it was a very nice battle to begin with, and then I think we got it all in 4 times in a row, and 4 times the poker gods were not wanting to give me the swords, so it was okay. I mean, indeed, we made a deal, I think. I don't remember the details, but yeah, the money was very good, so it was still a very good experience. And I got a second place trophy. That was also fun.
Ah, that's nice. Do you have it somewhere special?
Yes, it's on how do you say, the cabinet somewhere. Like, yep.
Good. And at what point were you willing to make a deal? Like, was it when you actually made the deal, or were you thinking about making a deal 4-handed, 3-handed, or maybe even earlier in heads-up play? When, I mean, to be fair, at the start of heads-up play, you had all the momentum. You know, you.
Yeah, I think I didn't even make a deal at the beginning before the first 1 or 2 showdowns. So I think we only made a deal when I already failed to win the first couple, like the first flips for the victory. I'm not 100% sure, but I think at least the first one. I think if I would have won the first one, I would literally have won everything without a deal. So I think when we got even a bit more, like after the first 1 or 2 showdowns, I think that's where we made a deal. And that was, in hindsight, very good because I also lost after that. So yeah.
Yeah, you were.
I didn't eyeball a deal like early on. I mean, there's always spots you can use that to put pressure on. So, and then heads up, of course, there is no ICM or whatever anymore. So if your opponent is good enough to make a deal with, that's always an option for the big money.
And it has to be like even though I know you play tens of thousands of tournaments because you're grinding, as you said, you're probably, if things don't work out today, heading straight for a Sunday session.
For sure.
But it still must be frustrating when you see you have your opponent really on the ropes. I think you had like 6 big blinds at one point, and then the first flip happened. You know, you're still thinking, okay, you know, not a big deal. But then after that second flip, it's already, okay, now I have work to do again. You know, it's so mentally, does that affect you? You know, when your opponent is getting lucky. I mean, it was basically flip situations, but still, you know, you win one flip and you know everything is over.
Yeah, I mean, for sure that was disappointing, but yeah, that's part of the deal. Indeed, I think I played much more than 100,000 poker tournaments in my life, so you know kind of what it is to get lucky and get unlucky. So yeah, in a bit bigger pressure spot like this, for sure, there was a strong feeling of disappointment after the couple showdowns. But it's still okay, you know. It's a good experience. It's also a learning experience. So yeah. And then you get a lot of money anyway. So yeah.
Yeah. and the buy-in is at a place where you'll see some professionals such as yourself, but you're also going to see, you know, obviously tons of recreational players having a good time. So being that you live here, it's not really like a vacation spot for you, but do you enjoy the social aspects of the Battle of Malta, or is it all business for you?
No, I'm well, people would describe me as an extrovert, so yeah, I'm very social and I enjoy, well, everything that's going on also. On the table you can talk a bit, but especially meeting people in between and whatever, yeah, my system likes that. You can go for lunch or food with friends in the breaks, or yeah, good stuff, live poker.
Do you recommend like other professionals maybe checking out more 550 events? Because, you know, this is my bread and butter, the 550s, 1Ks. I love those kind of events because players are coming to have fun, and even usually the professionals are coming to have fun. Of course, they want to win, but, you know, it's like what I describe as like a poker holiday for many. Or should, let's say, the professionals always just be focused on, let's say, those higher end type of events, which are very reg heavy?
Yeah, it's very, it's depending on a lot of things, of course. Like, this is for me the perfect 500 because not only is it next to my house, which is a big thing, because traveling to play a 500 tournament is, it's going to be very tough to not lose too much money. Yeah? So you, like on expenses and whatever, so then you indeed have to see it as a holiday. So you're basically taking a week off if you want to have a holiday to a spot where there is an amazing 500 tournament. That's an option, and then if you frame it like that mentally, and then you can win back the holiday, like something like that. Sometimes it comes in the form of a trophy and a couple €100,000. So it's it's a weird way of winning back your holiday. Besides that, it's the perfect 500 for me because I can fire a lot of bullets, and that means that on average you will have a bit more often a stack on day 2 and a bit more chips. So then the value from the tournament comes on day 2, 3, 4, where you can actually play for bigger money against the still amazing soft field. So yeah. if those circumstances are met, then it's all a very good one to mix it in. If not, if you have to travel to another country and the field is not necessarily super soft, or you can't fire a lot of good bullets, then it becomes very tough. But this one I would recommend to everybody. So
yeah, it is a good time, and you can tell me otherwise, but I found that the floor and the organization, it gets better every time. Like it must be like so difficult to manage the amount of players. I mean, it's about 3,000 now for the main event, which is like super impressive, being that there's still restrictions in places. It's hard for people to travel, and on top of that, there's a lot of different events going on everywhere. So how do you feel about like how the event is run compared to, let's say, the higher end events that you sometimes play, like at EPTs or WSOPs?
It's very different events, but the vibe is the same in terms of how well it's run for me now. Like maybe there will be differences in flooring rules or whatever, but just if I look at the atmosphere, which was very good, and how everything seems to go in terms of smoothness, like I'm very happy. Yeah, they did a very good job, so compliments to the casino.
And is it just like an annual visit for you to the casino, or do you come occasionally to play cash or one of the nightlies just for like a little bit of a break of things?
Yeah, normally I'm just grinding online. Like sometimes we go for like a beer and like a small, fun couple poker hands or whatever. But it's been a while ago, if I'm honest. Yeah, and like I said, like when we got here the first years, there used to be like 1,500 tournaments sometimes, or a 1K freeze out with like a couple hundred players. That was like fun enough to go. But now the tournaments are really small, besides big events like this. So if they organize something good, I will come. But just going to the casino to grind an evening of cash games is not really worth it.
Okay, so you would maybe come for like the Poker Stars event that's going to be at the casino in June, but maybe not, depending on what else you have going on, because it's also summertime for you. And,
exactly. Maybe even World Series. I don't know. We'll see.
So you are planning to go this year?
Maybe. Depends on too many other things still. So we'll see. But if it's possible, I'll be there for a couple of weeks at least. So.
And did you find like you needed to make any adjustment after, let's say, you were always primarily focused online, but you did go to quite a lot of live stops to mix it in. And then you have the pandemic where basically there is nothing, for a year or 2 years, depending on where you live. So getting back into live, obviously it's like you can read the players better, but, everything slows down. So do you do anything mentally to prepare for that?
I mean, I've done a lot of work, self-development, study, whatever, over the years, and that kept going in pandemic as well, during lockdown, but not necessarily geared towards live poker. Like with one study group at the end, when things were opening again, we focused a bit on that, and we tried to estimate how people would, if things would be different or how we would have to adapt to that. But I mean, I've mostly played online for the last 5 or 10 years, but I've also always traveled a lot and played a lot of live poker. So it's not like in the Netherlands we would say it's like riding a bike. Like it's not like something you unlearn. Like I've been to Prague last month, I think it was, and the first time I sat down it was a bit weird. You feel a bit rusty, but all good. Live poker will probably always be good. So.
Did you have any success in Prague?
No, I did not.
Oh, so it's our topic. That's our topic changes.
Yeah, we're gonna change that here.
But let's now go to the guy that's grinding online all the time, but a little bit less social than you, but still comfortable in front of people. What kind of advice would you give that person that is going to, let's say, even like a smaller event it could be, but we can use the Battle of Malta as an example. Coming to Battle of Malta, what should they have in mind? Because I know a lot of players can feel a little bit intimidated, let's say, for their first live event. And even you just said, it was a little bit strange after not being there for a few years. So maybe there's some advice you could part, for these kind of people.
Yeah, it depends. Intimidated by, like, some people will literally have trouble reading stack sizes and that stuff like that if they're really not used to playing live. But I think there will not be a lot of people anymore. So by now, after poker has been around for quite a bit in the mainstream, I think if you're intimidated by playing a bit bigger event or whatever, I think, yeah, it's a really cliche, like just try to enjoy the process or whatever, like, yeah, focus on your breath, like, yeah, standard stuff, I would say. But it may help.
And maybe like there's a strategy adjustment as well for the guys that are studying a lot, just because not only are the players playing differently and you can get reads, but then you have the big blind ante, which I love, but obviously there's no need for that online. So is there really any adjustment? I mean, the amount in the pot is always the same, but there might be adjustment depending on your position to change how you might play a few hands, or it's pretty much whatever you study online can apply to live poker.
Yeah, there's not big adjustments they would have to make. Like, I would just go with the flow and do your best to understand what's going on the table, including where the antes come from and everything. But it's not like it's a completely different game. So, if anything, try to not overdo things, like when you're not in your comfort zone. Like, if you're used to playing online and now you're live and there's a lot of stuff happening that you have to keep your eye on, maybe try to not spew it away in like a very marginal spot. That may be a good idea. So you give yourself also time to settle in and get used to the different form of poker you're not used to. So.
Yeah, that's a good point, because online you don't really think, because you could just click up another table, and live you're out of an event. Okay, you might be able to re-enter, but let's say on a day two you're not able to re-enter, and that's the event that you came out for. So it's it's almost like, let's say we can now head maybe into online poker. Let's say your W Coop title, right? So with for those of you that know, Steven won the W Coop main event at PokerStars, $5,200 buy-in, which is probably near the top end of your buy-in range online. I mean, I know you're playing some events like that, but you're typically, it's certainly a lot higher than your ABI, I would assume,
obviously.
online.
Yeah.
And then it would be kind of like a similar effect. You don't want to necessarily bust that tournament. But what is it like as you're like progressing along in, let's say, an online tournament like that? It was it was over $1 million. It was your biggest cash online or live. Is there like this nervousness feeling that maybe somebody new that is just playing live poker for the first time might feel, or is it just business as usual?
Yeah, obviously on the final table you have a lot of bigger money, so the pressure or the excitement is a lot bigger. But on a regular day two, I think I won like 7 coin flips in a row on that day too. Like, it's just kind of business as usual, like, until your stack gets so big that it's worth a lot of money, which your system will feel. But it's not like the game is completely different, especially in a tournament like that was for the buy-in very soft. Then you're just playing your game and you know what to do, and you just have to get the money in anyway. Like, it's not like you can escape setups forever or escape showdowns. So that's definitely on the higher end of my buy-in spectrum. I play 10Ks, I think, sometimes. That's kind of the maximum I would try to qualify for or sell a lot of action. And then the best 5Ks. Party Poker half a year ago was a nice 5K. The Online Millions, that was one of the few I played, I think, this year. A couple 10Ks on GG, but
So you're selling for 10Ks. Were you selling also for the W Coop main event?
Of course,
well?
I don't know. You should know that story if you commented on it. I had like 20% in a backing deal, and then I had a part for myself, and the rest I just lost like 40K in the weeks before in the rest of the series. So for the rest, I swapped like what I thought was down to, let me get the number right, I think I had like 30% for myself all in all, and then I made like 2 extra swaps apparently without realizing, and it was down to like 16.5%, something like that. You must know the story.
Yes, I know the story, but
I mean, the good thing is it was not necessarily too much action sold; it was too much action swapped. So pretty much everything has gone to most of my best friends, which was amazing. So yeah, it was a very, how do you say, humbling experience. Like, I feel tremendously stupid when I realized. But yeah, it took me a couple hours to get over it, and then I just said, okay, let's try to win it, which happened. So yeah, it was still good. I think I netted 250k for myself, which is still an absurd amount of money, of course. So yeah.
Were you out celebrating with the people that you swapped with afterwards?
Yeah, some of them. We were here. Like there's a clip online where I come in and we spray like champagne everywhere and everything. So at that point, I was really happy. Like a part of your brain has to say goodbye to that big money, but it's also a kind of a mind fuck. How do you say? Because I was never playing for more than 30% anyway. Because I had lost a lot of money, I would never have played it for the 5k buy-in. So I was effectively playing it as a whatever 1600 or whatever, and then I swapped away a bit more of that. But the brain still sees that big number, you know. So I swapped too much. I'm not winning 1.5 million. I never played for that to begin with. So yeah.
Yeah, you went to play it if you weren't. Obviously, you made the extra swap, but the first swaps you went to play it, and
otherwise I would never even have played it. So yeah. Whatever. It was a good experience.
Is it like the same kind of feeling after? I mean, it would have felt obviously a lot better if you won, but you said you got a trophy and you almost got first place money anyway during the Battle of Malta. I assume that you celebrated that, or was it like next day back into the online grind?
We did some fun stuff. Not necessarily crazy partying the night itself, but we had some good dinners and stuff like that. We went out, I think 2 days later, for a very good dinner with a group of friends and a lot of bottles of wine and a lot of broken glasses, I can remember. But that was kind of the celebration. So yeah.
So a little bit goes into celebration, and then let's say you win. I think this was close to 300,000 euros. It was a little bit less than that. Between 250 and 300,000 euros you won at the Battle of Malta. And when you have a big score like that, or a big score at the W Coupe, even though you swapped out quite a lot, does that money go then, the rest of the money goes straight back into the bankroll, or do you then take that out and do something for a lifestyle kind of purchase or savings even?
It really depends. Like I mentioned earlier, like some money from both scores went into crypto, and then that becomes a whole adventure in itself, where it sometimes explodes and sometimes crashes, and it also starts to take time, and then when it crashes, you're like, okay, that's not going to work. Let's put my time back where it belongs, in poker study. So it really depends where you are. Both scores for sure were a huge bankroll boost, so you can play a bit higher, you can buy some stuff that you want, you can make other investments. A bit of everything, I would say. You have a bit more money in your pocket as well,
And I hear through the grapevine that you might be becoming a family man soon.
I am.
Good. And do you anticipate, like when the Bambino comes along, that your lifestyle will change in terms of how you're approaching poker? Are you going to be able to travel as much? Are you going to be able to grind online as much? Or are you thinking that you're going to figure out just a different balance in life?
I'm pretty sure everything will change. Which, not to be too negative, but the world is changing anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised if traveling for poker also becomes more difficult again in winter for whatever stupid restrictions or other chaos that may emerge. Having a baby may actually be good for me to be settled a bit a bit more of a purpose back at home. Online poker will be there hopefully, so I'm prepared to travel less and take care more of baby, of course. So
Good. And I have one other topic because it's very topical at the moment. You've probably seen all the Twitter explosions about it seems like there's like scandal after scandal after scandal, lately with different people. Do you follow what's happening with that, and does it basically worry you because some of these guys, actually all the guys that are mentioned, they're playing in the same games that you also play. So does that affect you mentally at all? Or what do you think in general?
No, in general, I don't follow everything. The last week I've been definitely following what's going on. But not necessarily because I'm in those games. First of all, those games have died, I think. The fact that I play a 10k every now and then on GG now does not mean I'm in those games. I mean, there's definitely cheating going on, like RTAing is obviously the worst, and professional ghosting stables that literally take over deeper action. Yes, that's taking EV and money from us, but I don't think we can kill that. Like they literally have computers running next to their own computer with like the RTA stuff, I think, right? So they're now looking at people not playing too perfect, or else they will be marked as bots. I think those things are good, but they will not convince me to come back in those games. Like those games you were talking about were like 10k small field buy-ins back then, a couple of years ago, and luckily I never had the money to jump in there. Some friends of mine did, and they lost a lot of money. Maybe because of the cheating, I don't know. Maybe also unlucky, but yeah.
And what do you think should be done about cheaters? Like if somebody cheats online, should they be, let's say, shunned like at live events too? Or is it, obviously the various rooms, it's happened at every room, so that's why I'm not mentioning a specific room, and various rooms have done different things over the years. There was bot scandals at one point, and, I felt that was dealt with very well, when they uncovered it and refunded money.
Yeah.
This is something completely different, but yet kind of related, and it's the difference between this and that is that the names involved are, let's say, the everyday player names. Like its latest is now Bryn Kenny, and then before it was Ali, and it seems like it's just a domino effect where now people that were keeping things, let's say, hush hush, they should have probably outed these people while it was happening, are now coming out with all kinds of stories. And do you feel there should be repercussions other than you're just banned from playing online at that site?
Yeah, interesting question. I'm all for a blacklist. How far you want that to go really depends on what happened and the amount of evidence. Like, that's the problem a bit with like a death sentence. There is like a lot of stuff that people can do to each other that we feel would deserve like the worst sentence. The worst punishment, but you have to, like, the stronger the punishment get, the more sure you have to be what happened. So if we really have overwhelming evidence that people are structural cheaters and using RTA and multi-accounting and whatever, then I would be for even extending that blacklist beyond online poker, because it just says something about the morality of somebody, and then you can expect two things. You can expect him to cheat in other ways, and at that point, it's also good to give off the signal as an industry. So,
Good. Well, I'm not going to keep you really any longer because I know you have a day 2 to prepare for. But being that you have a day 2 to prepare for, what did you do other than join me on the podcast to prepare for day 2? I know, as you said, this day 2 is maybe you'll be happy if you build a stack. You're not going to be happy if you don't build a stack and stay in the game because then you're losing equity online. But in general, I know you want to prepare to do your best. So what do you recommend players to, let's say, do before a big day?
You'll have to mentally be ready for a long day. Otherwise, it's not really useful to start like a session. That's true for online poker and for live poker. So for me, it doesn't really matter if I play live or online. You just have to be fit and well rested. So I slept good. I'm off to the gym now, and then I rest a bit more, and then I come here for day 2. And if I bust, I keep going online. It will be a long day regardless. So.
Well, I'm hoping it's the opposite, because I'm hoping we'll have a part 2 to this interview after you do one spot better than the last Battle of Malta.
That would be pretty amazing. Let's aim for that.
Yes, that should always be the goal. Or at least the same, because then you get like a matching twin trophies.
I'll sign for second now. It's I'll be the coward. Okay, I would sign for second right now.
Gonna chop the whole tournament. Just give Steven second.
Yeah.
Okay, Steven. Thanks a lot, and best of luck today. And I'll be keeping my eyes on you throughout the event. So try not to disappear too fast. I hope it goes in the other direction.
Cool. I'll try to double up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.